Hey, what's going on, everybody? Glad to be here. Glad to be on the east side, this side of the grass. It's going to be all right either way for all of us. We just got to stop being in fear and we just got to live life before it passes. Uh, I want to talk about a dream that I had. Uh, and as I'm getting older, I'm finding out what the dream is about. So I had this dream that I was walking in complete darkness, right? Except the path that I was on was well lit. It was a well lit path, but I could only see as far as maybe like headlights can see. And up above me to the right, I saw a highway. It was like a 5 lane freeway. And every car up there was a red convertible. And in the red convertible, you had people holding drugs in their hand, holding alcohol in their hands, playing loud music, having a party in the car, good times. Some of them were sitting on the top of the convertible. I mean, they were just seeming to have so much fun, and I caught myself in the dream wishing that I was there. Not that I'm a smoker or a drinker, because I'm not, but just the atmosphere, the vibe that they had going on. I wanted to be a part of it because I was on this path. It was lit, but I was alone, and it was quiet, and I wanted to, like a child, I wanted to be associated with noise. Sometimes when children are in quiet places, they start making noises because they're afraid of silence. And as you get older, you start to appreciate silence. Definitely so. So, at any rate, the issue was I was made to continue to walk on this path that I was walking on. And it was a narrow path and it was a lit path. And just when I found myself getting, uh, coveting being with and on that freeway with everybody else, a voice told me to look ahead. And what I saw ahead on that freeway was like a sinkhole, or it was a hole. Okay. And when I saw the hole way up ahead, I had fear and concern for the people that were on that that freeway. So I just I couldn't yell at them. They couldn't hear me or anything like that. And I was made to look where the hole led to. And I looked down and looked down and looked down and looked down and I couldn't see anything. And I was like, and when I was looking down, I was seeing the cars that had made it up to that point going in this hole. And I couldn't hear any yelling or screaming. What did I hear yelling and screaming? No, what I couldn't hear for sure is I couldn't hear any crashes. It was just that hole must have been so deep that there was no pit, and it made me grateful that I wasn't on that freeway, but it made me hurt for the people that were on that freeway. And so I was made to keep walking. When I kept walking past and beyond that hole, when I was made to walk past and beyond that hole, I just kept, I heard nothing. It was just an eerie peace and an eerie quiet. And I was walking. But the path was so well lit, yet narrow, I was not afraid. And I kept walking and kept walking. And I kept thinking to myself, why am I walking by myself? This path just keeps going on and on and on. And I was too apprehensive to get off of the path because it was nothing but darkness around the path. So it didn't matter at any point, at that point, how I felt, I had to keep walking on that path. And I started finding myself getting okay with the path, or I started feeling grateful that I was on a lit path because I didn't know where it was going. All I knew is that I was just following the lit path. and it wasn't too much variation from the left and the right. So I was walking a pretty straight and narrow path, and it had turns and curves or whatever the case may be, but there weren't many of them, and I just kept walking. And before you know it, I looked up and I saw a light, but it was just like my path. It was a light on another path, and I saw somebody walking on that path, and I remember I got overjoyed because even though the path was far away from me, I was just excited to see somebody else. And that person was walking on the path. I couldn't make out who it was. Couldn't make out who it was. But I saw the path looking ahead. I saw that our paths looked like they were coming together. Remember, I had about the visual of a headlight, not a bright light, but just like regular headlights in darkness. And I saw their paths like that too. And as they walked, the path lit. So it must have been the people that were on the path were actually the lights. And it never occurred to me that I could go in any direction that I wanted to go and it would look like the lit path. But I was trusting where I was going was where I needed to go, and I was actually like a headlight, and that person was a headlight too. And as long as my intentions was good and as long as my intentions was pure, that headlight was being guided by the spirit, navigating and telling me where to go. But there was a sense of arrogance or cockiness that came over me to say, well, now that I know this, I can walk anywhere that I wanted to go. And so, but I was saying to myself, but the path has not led me astray. I better just stay walking in the direction that my higher self was telling me to walk. Because you see, the spirit wants to lead you to the truth. And so even though you have the tools to make any decision and choice and go in the direction that you want to go, it's better for you to listen to your higher self, the Most High, and trust in the spirit that was given to you that's trying to lead you into your destiny. But I remember that person. I remember looking at that path and I just got encouraged and excited that I wasn't alone. And so I often reflect on this. This happened years ago. I often reflect on it and I try to extract everything that I can from it because I know it was a powerful vision that I had, a powerful dream. And some of the things that I take from it, and I hope it helps you too, is you're going to have to go on your journey alone. You're going to have to work. You're going to have to work it out yourself. There is no way around it. You're going to have to do something that nobody else is going to do for your life and for your purpose. And it's going to be tough. You're going to question things. You're going to want company. But everybody can't go where you're going. Now, if somebody fights to go where you're going, that's one thing. That's how I feel about if you have a wife. As a man, you should be so committed to your purpose that sometimes it's going to challenge your wife to even want to go with you. But that person has to love you so much and be committed to you so much that they will go with you. But you have to be committed to your purpose so much that you'll go without them. And it's not about leaving them. I'm not encouraging you to leave your wife. That's not what I'm encouraging you to do. On the contrary, I want you guys to stay together. But if you're with the wrong type of person, whether it's your wife or your friend or anybody in between, you need to find out as soon as possible if this person's supposed to be rolling and flowing with you. Because if this person isn't rolling and flowing with you, you need them to show themselves as quickly as possible. Because you could be just wasting your time on nothingness. Hold on a second. Sorry about that. But you need to understand that you need to stay convicted to what you're supposed to be doing. And it's not going to always be the easiest. And you're going to expect certain people to not let you down, and they're going to be the ones to let you down. They're going to be the ones to tell you, I'm never going to leave you. I'm never going to forsake you. I'm going to be right here by your side. And there'll be some of the ones that's going to do that. They're going to leave you. I heard a couple say this, and you probably heard this too, but I heard a couple say this. This guy was saying that his wife told him he loves his wife example of what's love. And the answer is love is giving somebody complete authority to destroy you, and they don't. You know, I remember there was a musician that said he had met his wife, and she was telling him how unmaterialistic she was and how those things didn't matter, right? And so she even went as far as signing his ironclad prenup. And they go to get divorced, and she's asking for all of this money, even though they signed a prenuptial agreement. And do I think at the time that she said she's not materialistic that she meant it? Well, how could you mean something if you've never been exposed to anything? If you've never had any money, as a coping mechanism, you probably say to yourself, money is not important. But anybody who has money will tell you, and they will say to you otherwise. They say, well, I see the importance. To be able to pay my bills, to be able to not have the worries of taking care of this and taking care of that. It's just that when you don't have it, you have to come up with a coping mechanism. Do you remember that movie with Tom Hanks? And he was stranded on an island, and he had a soccer ball, and he painted that soccer ball, and it made it look like a person, and he would talk to that soccer ball. That was a coping mechanism because he was alone, and it wasn't good for him to be alone. So he used that as a coping mechanism to satisfy and quench that desire of having real human contact. So you can't really say what you will do unless you're exposed to the opportunity. When you're exposed to the opportunity, when you're exposed to a lifestyle and you say to yourself, these things don't matter, that's one thing. But if you've never been exposed to that type of lifestyle, you've never been exposed to resources and things of that nature, and you come up with a coping mechanism like that stuff really doesn't matter. What really matters is that I have my friends, that I have my family. And listen, that is true. Having your family is all that matters. But you live in a society where you must have A, B, and C to survive. Now, the other stuff, that's not important. And yes, when you have money, your wants can easily turn to your needs, and your needs can easily get pushed aside for your wants. But you do have to remember that you have to remember that you don't know how faithful you are until you have the option to not be faithful. You don't know how much of a compassionate person you are until you have the options to be callous. You don't know as a woman how faithful you are until you don't have the resources that you need, but you got the options to be with others who have the resources that you need, and you don't choose that. Fellas, you don't know how much temperance you have for intercourse with any and every woman until you have a lot of women trying to have intercourse with you and you say no. When I was in college, I did not find out my temperance for intercourse until I got to college. I went to the Ohio State University. Um, Girls that would never talk to me were talking to me. They were knocking on my door. I even had one girl chase me from a party to my dorm room to try to get with me. And it wasn't because, listen, make no mistake about it. I'm confident in myself. I'm handsome. But I also I looked the same as I did before I got to Ohio State than I did when I got to Ohio State. So I'd had my types of interactions with girls. And when I got to college, that interaction changed. And you probably say, oh, well, you got bigger, you developed this, that, and the other. No, these girls wouldn't talk to me unless I had something going for me. And look at me. I mean, yes, I'm handsome, but I mean, I don't have unique color eyes. I don't have, uh, baby hair or some exotic feature about me or whatever the case may be. To me, I'm just I'm just a guy. Now it's what's in the inside of me that makes me who I am. But just looking at me, you wouldn't be able to see some of the qualities that I have unless I gave you an opportunity to be exposed to those qualities. Take case in point. My wife thought I was good looking when I met her. But it wasn't until she got exposed to me to see all of the different lights and torches that I had, that I could carry, that I that the different talents that I had, things of that nature. She didn't know that until she exposed herself to that. That's why I think, people who judge books by the cover, they miss their blessing so many times because your blessing doesn't always look like on the outside what it actually is. I do remember you. Well, let me give you the example. I would be talking to the fellas at various points in my life, and we would have guy talk. And one of the guys was crazy about this girl, and it was crazy because he did not know. He was trying to snap, like he was trying to snap out of being crazy about this girl, because this girl, she was what a lot of people would deem as pretty basic in terms of the looks department. But he started hanging around this girl, and then he started getting to know this girl, and then she has so many extraordinary attributes that it was driving him crazy, and he fell madly in love with her just because of her disposition, her gentle disposition, her kindness, her laughter, uh, her wisdom, the abilities that she had, the way that she can contribute, the way that she built him up and magnified him. He never found that in any of the all fly pretty girls that he had been accustomed to dealing with. And so he was really trying to shake his blessing because he wanted to get back to these pretty girls. And I'm not saying that, now listen, I'm not saying this girl was not pretty. I'm just saying that if she was in a room full of beauties, she might not stand out if you did not get to know her. Now, if you got to know all of the girls in the room, she definitely would stand out. And they are together to this day, like 20 some years. And they're happy as ever. And so sometimes you want the glitz and the glamour, but you don't know the crap that comes with it, the headache that it can be. I remember I remember dating this girl. She was a head case, but she was really good looking. She was a head case. She was very attractive. Head case. And it got to a point where I said, man, that stuff don't even matter. I'm out. And the whole time I was walking away, I didn't want to walk away because of what I was giving up, because men are visual, but I just kept beating it in myself. This is not good for you, man. This is bad for your health. So you're going to have to walk your own path. And sometimes when you walk in your path, you're going to seem to need help. And you know what? You're not going to get it. Even the people that can help you, even the people that you help the most, even the people that depend on you the most, it doesn't register in their mind that they should invest more time and resources into what they know they're going to get the most out of. Let me give you a fictitious example, okay? It's not even really fictitious. It happens a lot. Let's say you have a couple, and this man, he's doing really well for himself. He makes a lot of money. He lives a good lifestyle. Everything's going great. And one day he meets this woman, and she's doing her thing too. And then they get together. And every time he gets something, he's thinking about her, and he's there for her. And she loves and appreciates that, so much so that she expects it. But every time she do something and every time she gets something, she does for herself, or she does for something else, somebody else. She does for her parents. She does for her siblings. She does for her cousins. She does for her causes. And it's good that she does these things for people. But what she fails to do is she fails to sow back into her man. The one that's always there. The one that makes it possible for her to free up her money to be able to do something for everybody else. She never takes the time out to think about how disheartening it must be that she doesn't take money or her time and effort and energy and sow it back into her man. But she'll take that time, effort, and energy and she'll sow it into somebody else that ain't even trying to give her a ROI on what she does. Well, what do you mean, Lee? So you're saying the only reason you do things for people is because they're going to do it back for them, because they're going to do it back for you? That's not right. No, that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is you got to, would you sow into a stock and you knew that you weren't going to get any money back in return? Okay. All right. So what I want to transition into is, and I was talking about needing, you know, sowing into where you harvest. And some people are going to just have an entitlement that you're supposed to do that for me because you're my brother, you're my sister, you're my mother, you're my father, or whatever the case may be. And those people are going to miss out because the whole time they're sowing into things that are wasteful, but they're not sowing into the things that's promising. It's like they want to go and sow into the big ticket items, something that has high risk and high reward. I'm not saying that you shouldn't ever reach for the stars, but you need to be realistic about what you're trying to accomplish. Now listen, if you have an opportunity to invest into something that'll make you $1 billion, right? But the risk is you could lose it all. Versus you can invest into something that's going to make you $30 million, and it has a track record and it's lower risk. You wasting your time trying to go after $1 billion, or you gonna go after 30 million? See, because wisdom is better than silver and gold. So if you have the wisdom to make money, then when you get $30 million, you can use $30 million to make more money and even get past and supersede 1 billion. But some of you don't know what to do, and some of you don't seek to know what to do. You just want to get as much money as you can and say, uh, then I don't have to figure it out. I was so, I don't want to say names, man. I just don't want to drop names. But there was this player in the NFL, and they were trying to get this big contract. And they were fighting and fighting and fighting hard to get that big contract. They even held out, and held out to get that big contract. Well, they eventually got the big contract. But the owner and the organization and what it was worth was so much bigger that being able to have access to a person who was worth billions of dollars could have lent credence to learning how this person made $1 billion and they're making $1 billion themselves. But what ended up happening was they ended up getting the contract they wanted. And as soon as they got I don't even want to tell you what happened because I don't want you to process of eliminate and figure it out. When they got the contract, they didn't fulfill their contract. And then that player is no longer with the team. And that player is not going to ever get another big contract just because the nature of the business. So the real opportunity that was blown was being able to rub elbows with somebody who could teach you something and give you something that could make you a fortune. It's the wisdom that's going to make you wealthy. It's the money that's going to make you rich. Now I'll name drop when it's good. So let's use Master P. Master P took this meeting with this lawyer. And this lawyer told him it's going to cost you $25,000 to meet with me. And when he went in there and he met with him, I think the only thing that lawyer told him to do is he got to get a distribution deal. And at the time, Master P was kind of like, what? That's it? I paid $25,000 for this? But what ended up happening was because Master P got a distribution deal, Master P, that was the ticket to making him a fortune. Birdman, the same thing. Distribution deal. Made him a fortune. When everybody's chasing the check, I want to sign for $2 million. I want to sign for $3 million. Even 50 Cent, when he signed, he could have signed anywhere for more money than he did with Dr. Dre and Eminem. But he considered working with Dr. Dre and Eminem. Now, the wisdom that he obtained from that and the skill set and the know-how of working with him for that, 50 Cent made a fortune. And I think sometimes we want to consider what's tangible instead of what's intangible. But the intangibles are invaluable. The intangibles will make you hand over fist the money that you need. I even had a recent situation with business dealings, and I didn't particularly like the agreement. But when I really started thinking about the agreement, the opportunity, it was going to take me to a different stratosphere to provide me the resources to be able to do other things. So sometimes a deal that looks good in the beginning is not good at the back end, and vice versa. Sometimes a deal that doesn't look good in the beginning is really good in the back end. And I'm not saying that's always the case, but you have to have some logic to think that through. So what? You go over here on your own and you make 100% by yourself. But you got to figure out everything by yourself. So now you're being robbed of time. But you go over here and you work under somebody and you don't get paid as much. Instead of 100%, you get paid 40%. You get paid 50%. I don't know. And that hurts you because you just go, oh man, that's a big cut. But you get exposed to more opportunities. And then you find out you would have sold 10 times more with the tutelage of this organization than you would striking out there on your own, doing your own thing. In order to strike out there and do your own thing, you need to have the wisdom to be able to do your own thing. I used to fight in insurance. I used to fight so hard for high contract advances. So, for instance, if you sell a $100 policy and a company advance you 10 months, that's $1,000. And if your commission is 90%, then from $1,000 you will get an advance of $900. So now you're thinking about the front end, you're thinking about getting that high contract. Meanwhile, here's another contract over here that pays you 60% advance. So instead of $900 of that 1,000, you would get 600. But here's what you don't know, or here's what you're not considering about that 60% contract. It gives you a 35% annual renewal. So that 90% contract gives you nothing, or gives you 1% or 2% annual renewal. Now, which one is going to be the most fruitful for you? Because you may not be able to do things the way you do things in the future. One of the last things I want to talk about is some people would rather go around you than come to you or go through you. I don't know why it's like that. I've had people in my life, they don't want to do anything to help me in any capacity. They feel like they're being robbed and cheated if they help me. And I'll do so much for them. And then there comes a point in a time where they need me more than they are getting from me. Like, they need me to pay a mortgage, or they need me to pay a bill. And then they don't come to me. They try to go through backdoor networks to get from me. You got to watch out for people like that. And some of these people will be in unbelievable positions with you. What I mean by that, some of these people will be your own blood, your own family. Instead of coming and asking for it, they'll steal it from you. They'll co-conspire to get it from you, all in the name of never coming to you. And they don't want to come directly to you. You know why? Because then they're going to feel some sense of, now I got to be there for Lee. Now I got to be there for you. I just don't want to be there for you. They would rather go out in the street and give up twice as much than to take from you for half as much. And what you may be offering them is even better than what's in the street, but they don't want to help you. They never want to help you. You just got to be mindful of people like that, man, because there's people like that. More often times than not, there are people like that. Because you see, if I go through something, I about know who I can pick up the phone and call. And it ain't much. And then there's people that I don't want to call because I want to figure it out. But I do know that I can pick up the phone and call certain people. You know, I used to play football at Ohio State. A lot of my friends went to the NFL. A lot of the teammates and stuff like that went to the NFL or whatever the case may be. But if I ever got in a bind, I know I couldn't pick up the phone and call them. We were teammates, but we weren't like that. And some of these people that do backdoor you like that, they have no sense of self-awareness. And it's amazing how they gather the strength to come to you or go to anybody and ask for anything when they treat them so bad. You just got to remember that. So So I'm going to close this out quick. And I'm just going to tell you right now, you better know who has your back and who doesn't. You better know who's there for you and who's not. And you better know where your bread is buttered. Because where your bread is buttered, your sowing should reflect that. If you're in a situation and you have zero to only a few people that'll help you, and somebody helps you and they come through for you, you better start investing in that. Because you got it wrong, expecting a harvest, and you don't have to put in any seeds. Because the switch up is real. And you need to keep the same energy if you want to get the same energy. Because the energy that you give is the energy that you're going to get. All right, peace out.